In the last session, we have discussed about the definitions of education and the meaning of education. Just to recall that meaning of education in just one glance, that education is a gradual process which brings positive changes in human life and behavior. We can also define education as a process of acquiring knowledge through study or imparting the knowledge by way of instructions or some other practical procedure. Through education, the knowledge of society, country, and of the world is passed from one generation to other generation. So here come the types of education. Education goes beyond what takes place within the four wall of classroom. A child gets the education from his experiences outside the school as well. Three types are formal education, informal education, and non-formal education. Let's study about formal education. Formal education or a formal learning. What is the formal education or what is the formal learning? In formal education, schools or institution involved in this basic learning or the academic or trade skills are learned. In education, in formal education, it has a hierarchical structure, means a step by step. Firstly, students enter in a kinder and then pass to the primary and secondary and then college and then universities. Means it has a hierarchical structure. It has a uniform and full time and proper timing under the set of certain rules and regulations. Students get formal education. It's a subject oriented. If you have the subject oriented, means if you have a period of science, then you should study about the science, and the certification and degrees are assigned in formal education. Let's study about the characteristics of formal education. Before going through the characteristics of formal education, firstly go through the examples of formal education. Learning in classroom, school grading or certification, college and university degrees, planned education of different subjects having a proper syllabus, as I have discussed all these examples with you. And characteristics of formal education: structured hierarchicals, means it's a step by steps, planned and deliberate, scheduled, fee paid regularly, syllabus and subject oriented, which have to covered within a specific time period, taught by teachers or instructors. If you have any query related to the formal education, you can ask me. Now, the second type of education is informal education. What's an informal education? Let's study about this. Informal education is a practical adult learning, means through parents or through our surrounding. A kid or a person learn, like through parents, a person learn cooking or riding a bicycle or reading a book. Diversity in methods and content. You're not just stick in one syllabus or in one criteria. It's diversity in methods and content. Mobilizes local resources, means conscious efforts are not involved. You can learn whatever you want and wherever you want. Built on learners' participation, not a pre-planned, not imparted by institution. Real life example of learning. Okay, no curriculum based, and it's based on experience. If submit or compress informal education in a line that learning goes on in daily life, or learning that undertake for ourselves, that a learning that take for ourselves, it's said by Smith in 2009. Means if it an informal education is unconscious learning that we learn from our surroundings on a daily basis. Examples of informal education is teaching child some basics such as numeric characteristics or anything a parent taught to their kids. Learning mother tongue, a spontaneous type of learning. A person goes on in a bank and learn how to open and maintain their bank account. It's a spontaneous learning. Now, the characteristics of informal education are it's an independent, and there is no limitation of boundary walls, and no defined syllabus, no pre-planned, and has no timetable, no fees are required, learning through daily experience, lifelong process in a natural way. Certificates or degree are not involved. No stress for learning the new things. Can get from multiple resources like media, life, family, friend, etc. If you if you have any query related to the informal education, you can ask me in a comment section. Okay, come to the non-formal education. The third type of education is non-formal education. What is non-formal education? It includes the basic education or a school equivalency preparation. It's a student oriented, and you get it from your experiences, a very long life process. You can learn from your environment, learning from the work, and learning from the work. How you learn, as you know, there is many uh, training sessions during your work, and job skills or basic skills you learn during your job. Distance learning and computer assistant instructions are also involved in it, imparted consciously and deliberately and systematically, organized from homogeneous group. Vocational education is an example of non-formal education. We can go through later on. Okay, flexibility in curriculum. Flexibility in curriculum and evaluation. More students participation because of interest. Examples of non-formal education are Boy Scouts and Girl Guide programs, fitness programs, and free courses of for adult education developed by any organization. Okay, then let's go through the characteristics of non-formal education. It's a planned education, timetable and syllabus can be adjustable. Formal education is theoretical, and this means a non-formal education is based on practical and vocational education. Vocational education means career and technical education, as I have discussed it earlier as well. Okay, fees and certificates may or may not be necessary. If you get any program or any training sessions online or a vocational education, you can or you can't get a certificate. It's not necessary, as in As we saw during a formal education, it's necessary to have a certificate or a degree, but in non-formal education it's not mandatory that you have a certificates or got the degrees. Okay, it involves learning of professional skills. It may be full-time or part-time learning, and can earn and learn together. You can earn and learn together as programs, training programs during your job sessions. Okay, if we go through the difference between our non-formal and informal, the basic and the first difference between